Hello booktube, my name is Elizabeth. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Book as in Books. I am very happy to make this video because in this video I am announcing that People April is back for a third year. What is People April? It is a readathon. It is hosted by myself and by Ros from Scally About the Books, who has been with me for the past 2 years, and we have added a third host, Brian, from the channel Bookish. And of course I'm going to leave links to their channels in the description box below. They will also have announcement videos and perhaps they will present the challenges in a bit of a different way. So I invite you to watch these videos too. So what is People April? It is a readathon that lasts the entire month of April, where you are invited to read nonfiction about people. Why nonfiction? Because it doesn't have a lot of space on BookTube. Most readathons are focused on a particular type of fiction, either a type or a period, but it focuses mainly on fiction. And I think that nonfiction deserves to have a bit more attention because it's really good. So I thought that a type of nonfiction that can reach a wide array of interests is biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, diaries, letters. So any nonfiction that is about specific people. People who are still alive, people who are dead, people who have recently been alive, people who have been dead for 2,000 years. It doesn't matter. It can be famous people, it can be anonymous people, it can be people who had extraordinary lives, it can be people who had boring lives. If they make it interesting in a book, it's fine. So it's really anything that you want. So that is the basis of it. Just read one book and you're in. So it's nothing more complicated than that. However, we are adding a little bit of bells and whistles just to make it more interesting. We have a couple of prompts to inspire you. So it's not prompts of the type, read a book with this particular characteristic. It's really very general prompts to inspire you. It's just a quote, a quotation. So we have two. The first one is, "Memoirs are the backstairs of history" by George Meredith. So it's George Meredith who said that. And our second quote to inspire you is, "Making fake biography, false history, concocting a half-imaginary existence out of the actual drama of my life is my life." And this one is by Philip Roth. So what can you do with these two quotes? Well, first of all, we can see quite a few key words in there. We have the words memoirs and the words biography. That's kind of easy. That means you can read any memoir, any biography, and you fit the two prompts. Another way to see it, the backstairs of history. So you have history, so you can read something about the forefront of history, but you can also read something about the backstairs, something behind the scenes. So the diary of a servant, the diary of the helping hand, the memoirs of a helping hand. You can read about little known events of history. So perhaps not the most famous people or person of a particular time or place, but read about someone who was there also, but perhaps a little less famous. As to the second quote, that one is a bit ambiguous. We are having a foot in reality and a foot in not reality. And I'm sorry to say that this is quite common in memoirs, among other types of books. Think of what was his name? A Million Little Pieces. It was a memoir that was selected by Oprah for the book club, and then just not long after it was discovered that quite a few bits were invented, or if they were not entirely invented, they did not happen to the author. It happened to someone he knew, and he took that for himself to make the book more interesting. We have that type of borrowing also in Papillon, the famous memoir by the prisoner Henri Charrière. Most of it is invented, well, not most of it, I don't know if it's most of it, but a large part of it is either invented or borrowed from other prisoners. And you can go back in time. In the 16th century, there was Benvenuto Cellini, who wrote a wonderful autobiography. I haven't read it, but it's something I want to read. But apparently, it's quite creative in there. So we give you a bit of wiggle room to try to find, perhaps, either because you want to read a book that you don't quite know if it's a novel or if it's not. So perhaps that could fit. Oh, maybe it's a memoir, maybe it's a novel. The type of book that Annie Ernaux writes, for example. Is it a novel? Is it nonfiction? We don't quite know. So perhaps that fits the prompt. But it's also an invitation to sort of critically read what you read, to ask questions and not implicitly trust that the author is necessarily telling the truth. So perhaps just to just look at the end of it, at the end of the book, if there are a few sources or a bibliography or a little something, just in case. So that's what we have to inspire you. And one of the activities that we have during People April is that we have a group read, and it is a book that you choose. So I'm going to present to you the 5 books that you can vote for, and I'm going to put a survey on my channel, so in the community tab of my channel, and you can vote for the book that you want to read. We will discuss it on Discord. There's going to be a link also to the Discord in the description box, and it's a fun read. None of the books is particularly thick. I think the longest is about 300 pages, so it's not something that would be that would take you a lot of time to join us, regardless of what is being picked. I don't have the books with me. Some of them are quite new releases, so perhaps that's something you want to keep in mind when before you vote. Just look where is your regular what is your regular source of books. So if it's the library, check if they have it, if you can have it in time for April. If you go to used bookstores also, or whatever your source of book is, you might want to take a look at that, just in case it's difficult to get. I'm going to go in alphabetical order of title. So the first book that we have to suggest is a memoir. 4 out of the 5 books are memoirs, and I think that reflects a little bit the current situation in the publishing world, where memoirs have a lot of shelf space. Maybe not 80% of the well, perhaps if we put memoirs and biographies together, do we have 80% memoir? Pretty close, I think. Anyway, that's the titles we came up together. So the first suggestion is Conundrum by, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I should have checked that. Is it Jan Morris or Jan Morris, or perhaps it is pronounced out of French, Jeanne Morris? So this is a memoir. As I said, it is a personal memoir of the author's childhood, upbringing, early life, and then married life, and then also transition life, because the author was born James Morris, and it is one of the first memoirs about transitioning. So this book is from 1974. It is available in a bunch of different formats, in hardcover, softcover, audiobook, ebook, so this one is easily obtainable. The next one is perhaps a little more difficult to get. The next suggestion we have is On the Hippie Trail by Rick Steves. So Rick Steves is a travel writer. I guess he's a travel writer, but he writes guidebooks, not necessarily inspirational articles that make you want to go somewhere on the planet. So it's not, he doesn't necessarily, well, maybe he did, I don't know. Did he write for National Geographic and newspapers, not newspapers, but magazines of the sorts? I don't know. I know him mainly for his Europe Through the Backdoor series. He also had a TV series on PBS, and this is his brand new memoir. So this one is coming out in March. So as I'm filming this, the book is available only in hardcover and audiobook, and ebook. So the softcover, the paperback, is not available. And I think in Britain, in the UK, it's going to be available in a few days. It's not yet available. So it is a brand new book. And the subtitle is Istanbul to Kathmandu and the Making of a Travel Life. So this is a memoir about one of his first trips from Istanbul to Kathmandu. So from Turkey to Nepal. And this is a travel story, and I love travel memoirs. So this is an option if you like travel memoirs and exotic. Well, exotic depends where you live. If you live in Turkey, I suppose Istanbul is not particularly exotic. But if you live in Istanbul, you're not living in Nepal, so at least the end of the travel is going to be exotic. And same the other way around. If you live in Nepal, then it's Istanbul that is exotic. So if you like exotic locations, that's an option. Our next suggestion is also a new release. It is Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton. So this one is nominated for the Women's Prize of Nonfiction for the long list for this year. So this is also a relatively new release. It came out last October in North America. So this is a story of Chloe Dalton, it's a memoir, and she raised a little hare from a little baby with a bottle, feeding it with a bottle, and then eventually releasing it into the wild. However, the hare stayed close, and whenever she would call it, it would come back. And this is the story of the friendship between Chloe Dalton and the hare that she raised, and it sounds absolutely lovely. The next one is our only biography on our list. It is The Tigress of Forli. The subtitle is Renaissance Italy's Most Courageous and Notorious Countess, Caterina Riario Sforza de' Medici, and the author is Elizabeth Lev. So I've read this book, so I suggested it because I think it is a swashbuckling life that she has led to a certain extent. So Caterina Sforza, so that's her name when she was born. She is the daughter of the Duke of Milan, and she was married when she was not even a teenager. She was, I believe, 11 years old, maybe 12, when she was married to the nephew of the Pope. And then she moved to Urbino. And the thing is, when you are the nephew of the Pope, that's valid only while your uncle is alive. Because when your uncle, the Pope, dies, he's replaced by someone else, and you are no longer the nephew of the Pope. And in the case of this particular nephew, whose name is Riario, he was from a family called De la Rovere, and they were a very insignificant family. So he went from Pope's nephew to nobody in the snap of a finger. And it was his wife who defended the castle of Urbino and who became the Tigress of Forli because she didn't want to give up her lands. She wanted her children to have the lands and to remain in power. And she showed what she could do. However, at some point, she became the prisoner of Cesare Borgia because Cesare Borgia was not the nephew of a pope, he was the son of a pope. And he had figured out that he had to take all he could grab while his father was alive. And one of the places where he was going was at Urbino and Forli, which were the two towns where that were the possessions of Caterina Sforza, now Riario. And then she remarried when Riario died. And then the second husband died, and in the end she married a Medici. So it's quite a full life, a lot of events, a lot of interesting things happened. After that, you're going to like your little suburban life. If you ever dreamed of being a princess in Renaissance Italy, that is going to cure you. You're very happy in your 21st century suburban life. So that's the fourth choice. And our last choice, a bit to counterbalance the two new releases, if you're more on a budget, perhaps this is going to be your choice. This is Walden by Henry David Thoreau. So in Walden, this is a memoir of the author deciding to retreat to the woods and sort of cut himself from society for a little while. And I have to say, this is rather attractive. As I am filming this on the evening of February 28, 2025, things are not looking good in the world. Things are happening at the White House. The Pope is very ill. It makes people want to retreat to the woods and just not to deal with the world anymore. So perhaps this would be a timely read, even though it is well over 100 years old. It sounds something very timely and very interesting. And this one is also available in all sort of formats. Same thing as The Tigress of Forli. I did not mention it, but because it's from 2009, it is available in paperback, hardback, audiobook, ebook. It's just available in all sort of formats. So is Henry Thoreau, which is also available on Project Gutenberg. So just a little click and you have the book. So these are our choices. So let us know by voting what you want to read. I'm going to leave the poll open for at least a week, I think. I'm going to be traveling a little bit next week. So I don't know exactly what my schedule will be. Well, in fact, I'm going to be traveling for the next 3 weeks, but in the coming days, I'm going to be on the plane. So that means that I will have zero access to internet. So I'm going to leave the poll open open for a little while, but I'm going to make sure that you have enough time to acquire the book, particularly if it turns out that it's a book that is not more difficult to acquire, because if the book is brand new, it's not difficult to find in the bookstore, so they will have it right there and then. But anyway, I'm going to leave quite a bit of time, a good 3 weeks for you to get the book. So I'm going to leave the poll open until next weekend, and then at some point when the poll disappears, that means that the poll is no longer open. So that's that. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you're going to join us for People April. I hope you're going to find great biographies and great memoirs and diaries. I am currently reading one. I don't know. Chances are I'm going to be, chances are, yeah, I think I'm going to be finished before April. I'm reading a collection of, this right there. I'm reading this. It is a collection of letters and diary excerpts from the Romanovs. So this is Tsar Nicholas II and his wife, Tsarina Alexandra. And as the title says, a lifelong passion. Nicholas and Alexandra, their own story. So it's basically the story of Nicholas and Alexandra told in their own words, but also in the words of their close ones. So a lot of the excerpts of diaries from Nicholas' sister Ksenia, from his cousin Konstantin Konstantinovich, letters from the Empress, his mother, letters from Kaiser William the Second of Germany, letters from King George V of France, from people that they knew. They were all cousins. It's all a wonderful family, and a lot of things happen. I'm taking notes like crazy. I'm about halfway through, and I took I don't want to write in the book, that's why I'm using post-its, but it's just so fascinating. So I hope that you make a discovery of the sort in April, that you find a book that you just fall in love with, that is a biography, or that fits People April. So any book that is about specific people. So I'm going to talk more about this book when I'm finished, because I think I could make like a 2-hour video on it. It's just so fascinating. But I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to say thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. À la prochaine!